Now, I feel like Anil did a really great job segueing to our next speaker. I'm so excited about this because I have been walking down the path of meditation, and one day while I was meditating, after doing ayahuasca for the first time, the word tantra came to me. It was said loudly. It was like the voice of God. I didn't know what it was, but I just heard it, tantra. I thought, well, what is that? And I got online and I Googled it, and I thought, wow, I'm already doing some of this. This is amazing. And I've been calling in guides, tantra guides, and I'm so blessed and excited that there's one here in the room with us. And today she's going to be talking about breaking the chains between men and women and healing the relationship between men and women, because I don't know if you guys are paying attention right now in the world, but there's a lot of female man hate going on and a lot of men hating women, and there's like this division that's taking place. But when we get quiet and we realize that we all contain masculinity and femininity within us, and we can heal that, we can then begin to heal the relationships with everyone here on the planet. So, Becca, I am so excited and honored to be introducing you and welcoming you to the stage. Come on up. Give a big round of applause for Becca, please. Okay, so she's going to be getting her book set up on the table, and I think you guys are going to be standing up here in a moment. So, here we go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Becca Tzigany. How many anarchists does it take to organize a room? I think we have the perfect number. I personally don't like to be standing up and you guys out there. So what I'd like to do is organize a half circle, or a circle. We can do a circle. And I think we could take this room and move chairs to the side. And you actually put chairs in a half moon. For those who want to sit, can sit in chairs. Those who want to be on the floor, you can be on the floor. And we're self-organizers, right? We can do this. Okay, go.
What are we doing, guys?
Feeling.
Wonderful.
Hot, yay. Paulo. Okay, great. I'm so glad Anil set me up to talk about relationship. And also Catherine mentioned there's this war between the sexes going on, and lately the war is heating up. Now this war has been going on for millennia. And a book that I just came out with, you guys are the first ones to have the possibility to buy it in print. It's also an ebook and audiobook. I did this investigation about what happened to men and women. When did this start and how did it happen? And I actually traced back mostly through mythology and looking at what our role models are for man and woman, where it started. And I got back to ancient Sumer. And those of you who know about Anunnaki and so forth probably know where I ended up, that realm of when what I call the dominator system was installed. And the dominator system is based on a pyramid. How many saw David Icke yesterday? Great, so you saw lots of slides of the dominator pyramid. Now, what often happens in the New Age movement is people will say, yeah, we don't like hierarchies. But the thing is, hierarchies are in nature, right? We have cells that make organs that make a body, for example. That's a hierarchy. or letter, word, sentence, that's a hierarchy. But it's a dominator hierarchy that sets things up so that the few at the top rule over those on the bottom. And as David Icke explained very well, it's a full service system. It works in every part of life. And the message is, either you are master or slave. Either you are predator or prey. And you gotta choose, right? Well, that's what one of the dominator system's favorite techniques, strategies, is called a false dichotomy. No, you don't have to choose between master and slave. You can choose to be a sovereign being and follow your heart and be who you are and cooperate with others. I was so thrilled to be invited to Anarchapulco. I spoke last year at Anarchapulco, and I love it because anarchists, or those of us who have anarchist leanings, those of us who are here, believe in the sovereign individual. And I've been a community organizer for decades, so what I've also found is that in people who are willing to take action, there's often what I call the lone wolf syndrome. Because, yeah, we're willing to be brave, we're willing to get out there, we're willing to be the wolf, and we don't need anybody. But actually, when we're talking about a movement, when we're talking about building a new world, we need each other. I can't change the world myself. I can bring my grain of sand and put it there, and those that appreciate it and like it are going to be affected. But when we're talking about building a new world, an entirely new way of living after millennia of being indoctrinated by the dominator system, first of all, we run the danger of creating a system in reaction to, but instead of what's coming from our hearts. And even if we're in our heart space, we have to be able to collaborate with others. So this is where, believe it or not, Tantra comes in. Because what Tantra teaches us, first of all, I'll give you my take on Tantra. I consider myself on the Tantric path. And Tantra is a spiritual path. It's a non-dual path. So if you categorize religions and spiritual paths, you have the ascending path, which is looking up to like God or non-existence, or so it's like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, and they all basically say that this world is corrupted. There's something wrong with this world. It causes you to sin, and things of the world, nature needs to be controlled. All of this world is not the thing. It's what we're aiming for is transcendence or going up to heaven, so that's the ascending path. And then there's the religions or the spiritual traditions of the descending path, which is like the earth-based religions. So most indigenous spiritual traditions are like the earth is our mother. We are birthed from this reality. So those are two. That's a dichotomy. But what Tantra is a non-dual path. And what Tantra says is, yes, you must ascend. You must realize this is all an illusion. This is a story. This is a movie that we all decided to play in. But then you must descend and bring that enlightenment into the world, into the body, into your embodiment of spirituality. And a lot of people go into Tantra as sexual practices without doing that first step. And so if you're just engaged in the world, you can become hedonistic. You can become selfish. You can just think that's all there is. So Tantra has practices for transcending the world and then living in the world in your body. So as a naturally sensual teenager, and I was raised in the Christian tradition, I was getting this whole thing about sin and the body is dirty, and I'm like, doesn't feel that way. It actually feels ecstatic. And ecstasy is a natural state that we can attain. That's what I found, but it's a process of removing the blocks to allowing us to let our energy flow. So this war between the sexes, why would the dominator system go to such great lengths to keep men and women from trusting one another? Because there's a natural impulse, right? There's a natural impulse to the urge to merge. There's a natural evolutionary impulse to procreate. So that's going to be happening all over the place, and we see that. So why put so many obstacles into what is a natural process? If you want to run a plantation, and that's what I call this earth, is like one big plantation, and they see us all as slaves, and yes, that's kind of what we have agreed to a certain extent. Well, not everyone in this room, that's for sure. Then to keep people enslaved, it would be a very handy strategy to cripple their sexual energy. Because with that urge to merge, men and women can attain, and men and women, anyone that dives into orgasmic energy transcends the body and knows, you don't have to do 50 years of meditation. When you have a really high orgasmic experience, you are already feeling, wow, I'm one with the universe. Wow, I feel all this power flowing through me. And if you're sharing that with somebody, because you can attain these states on your own through self-pleasuring, and if you attain those states with somebody else, your partner, your lover, then there's an alchemical process that happens. That is synergistic. So instead of 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 8. Now imagine if you're having that kind of relationship with your lover, where you're tapping into, it's like free energy, right? Anyone studying free energy here and the technologies that are available? You're just plugging into the ether, right? Which is infinite energy. So it's another way to do that with our sexual energy. So if you're feeling like, wow, I've got infinite energy, and then, wow, I've got all these creative ideas, and what if you and your partner decide, let's make a new financial system? Let's create a new way of raising families. And what my partner and I did was, let's document what this experience is like. So my partner James is an artist, I'm a writer, and I gotta say, we didn't like, oh, why don't we make, no, it was following our bliss. We were so thrilled with one another as lovers. He says to me one day, I want to paint this. I'm like, sure, go ahead, do whatever, but I had no idea, because he was like kind of he was an expressionist, throwing paint on the canvas kind of guy. And then when he starts painting, they come out as photorealism. So here's one example. And he used us as the models. And in this piece, it's Kuan Yin, which is the Eastern goddess of compassion, and Mars and Venus. So he starts doing the paintings. I start getting messages. Well, I start writing them down as poetry, not so strange, I'm a poet. But then I'm reading them and I'm like, whoa, these are statements about either the condition of these archetypes or the condition of the world or the condition of the masculine and the feminine in the world. So we knew we were onto something, and we kept up with it for, it was 10 years that he painted, 64 paintings, and really I've been at the writing for 20 years. It required total surrender, completely changed our lives. And it was because of our synergy that we began to manifest miracles. Because we were following our passion, not thinking about the money, and I was raising a kid through all of this, right? And it said, I happened to own my house in the Caribbean at that time, and it got a message like, you must leave. It's like, no, but don't you see, I got it all set up, I got a house on the beach, it's really good. Anyway, we ended up doing a pilgrimage around the world, and everywhere we went, we looked at the status of men and women. And it ain't a pretty picture. Like when we were living in India, connecting with women there was very difficult for me, well, for him too, to know the level of abuse and femicide, the murdering of women, and infanticide, murdering female girls. That was going on, and going, wow, this war between the sexes is being taken way too seriously. So since then, I have been beating the drum for personal sovereignty through awareness of our own energy. And many tantric exercises are about discovering your own energy. I'm giving a workshop later today at 3:30 or 4, and we're going to be doing some very basic introductory exercises to feel, okay, what's my body energy? Because how can I know what my boundaries are? Like how far am I willing to extend with another person? How do I feel good within myself? Tantra always starts with the self. So those of you who are interested in learning about Tantra and you don't have a partner, no problem. You really need to start with yourself. That's where it all starts. And then you can practice with a partner, like, okay, I'm doing the breathing and I'm moving the energy through the chakras, I'm circulating. There's a Taoist practice called the microcosmic orbit, which many people like. And now, if I'm joining with another, and the first it's non-sexual, you just start learning how can we blend our energy fields. And so those are a whole group of tantric practices about circulating the energy together and bringing that into intercourse. I mean, first it's kind of like walking and chewing gum at the same time, but it's okay because in Tantra, you get to practice. You don't have to practice. You get to, right? It's like, really? We have to make love again? Okay. Because orgasmic energy is just life force energy. That as we bring it through the body, helps us have not just genital orgasms, but heartgasms, throatgasms, and mindgasms. And then we know, once you've had these experiences, how many have had what you call like a religious experience with sex? Something completely blew the top of your head off, right? No one's going to tell you that was not real. No one will ever convince you that what you felt wasn't the truth of reality at its core, right? So Tantra says not only is it okay to do that, but it is essential for us to be the full expression of our human selves by realizing our infinite divinity, which is expressed in these human bodies. I would like to open this up for questions. What are the obstacles you find to having the kind of experience I'm talking about, or any other question you might have? Yes.
You mentioned going back in the past, and I've heard terms of anking and allowing energy to come up with and through us, but instead of allowing that to escape into the ether, but rechanneling and regenerating to almost charge up over time. Can you maybe share a little of your experience? Or
Yes, and there's different schools of Tantra. Actually, I found that Tantra exists, some version of sacred sexuality exists in all the spiritual traditions, but it was kept secret. But anyway, in the Taoist tradition, their main focus is Tantra for healing. So, like, if you've got weak kidneys, they'll say, okay, you do this breath, and when you make love, you get in this position, and you channel the energy into your kidneys. So, since kidneys, I mentioned kidneys because it's foundational in Taoist Tantra. The kidneys are the seat of Jing, which is what produces Qi, which is life force. So often, when I'm making love with my partner, when we get into the orgasmic flow, with each orgasm, I am breathing my orgasm up and over, and I'm letting it settle in my kidneys. And so it's visualization, it's breath, and but in Taoist manuals, it's like, do you have a sore throat? Okay, do this. Or if you have a headache, it's this position and this many strokes, and you know. So I think it's a great medicine, actually. Did that answer your question? Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you elaborate more on, I guess, the state of men and women, the battle of men and women?
Yes. How many have seen any videos of me with Sasha Degame? He and I are talking a lot about the status, because I've been invited to the Infinite Man Summit. I'm speaking there also in a couple days. I love working with men. Love it. Because I've often worked mostly with women. And what I'm finding on both the women's side and the men's side is the dominator systems, strategies are working. Don't trust that guy. He's from a patriarchal system. He's the one that screwed you over. Don't trust that woman. She will take you to the cleaners. She will break your heart. And 1,000 other lies. I mean, sure it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. But it's because distrust is seeded. It is if you look I'm speaking on the main stage at 2:45, I'm going to be showing some erotic art and some dominator art. And I'm going to be asking people, check it out. Because we've been fed this from birth. You cannot trust another. And in case you didn't get it, we've got rampant pedophilia, which will damage you in your sexuality you need lots of therapy to get through that. So we're living in a trauma-based mind control system, and traumatizing us in our sexuality is top of the list for those who are making this plan. One more question?
You mentioned borders and how far I want to go with that person. But that presumes that I have this contract. I established some kind of relationship. So the first and the largest border is this first contact. So when I feel drawn to somebody or attracted to someone, man, women, whoever, the biggest problem is to not to be insulting by having interest in that person, without having any plans, I just want to know that person. I just want to make contact to find out how far I want to go with this person. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, so that's the kind of...
Maybe just a small thing. The cat, for example, just comes to you and strides on your leg, and you're not insulted that the cat does this, you know what I mean? And if you don't like it, you go away, or the cat doesn't like it, you go away. But the first thing is very easy. So So how could we do that?
Yeah, okay, so what I do when I meet people is I first calibrate the culture I'm in. I live in South America, so I can get close, but if I'm with northern people, I know that the personal space is bigger. So I'm a breathwork therapist too, and so I'm breathing in, like, okay, what's the energetic field between us? I'm breathing it in and taking it in, like, oh, okay, I'm getting ease here. So then I will get, my own stance will get like more informal. I might touch a shoulder. How'd that go, right? Are you okay with that, right? You know, so I don't want to be rude. So I'm constantly monitoring when I meet somebody, how far will they let me in? And I expand from my heart center. I do that consciously to see who wants to be in my field. And if I get either pushback or I worked as a community activist so I was targeted by corporations and and I would get in personal meetings actual attack. So I would, like, shields up. All right, you stay over there. Okay, I want to close with Paulo. I would like that picture up again because I want to read you a poem because I'm a poet. And this poem is called Breaking the Chain. So Kuan Yin is the one, right, who's standing there. Oh, there's my book. And there's Kuan Yin. And I'm a poet, so I'm using metaphor and imagery, but I'm using the masculine principle as the standing in his truth, penetrating, and I'm using the feminine as that principle is what embraces and holds. So see what you catch. Breaking the chain, and feel free to look at the image. Full moon, pale yellow, reflecting solar mind in lunar heart. Heaven is a purple silk kimono that sighs onto the slumbering earth. Wind ripples the feminine lagoon. Lotuses bob in a wet and rolling pulse. The ambassador stands upright at the shore. He wants to dive in, to swim free. Conch, pink maiden, jade, hard hero. Kuan Yin understands. White crane stands erect upon one leg for all and everyone to see. He winces to think of their judgment. Kuan Yin understands. Mermaid clutches a red pearl, hiding in her underwater cave, not wanting to be found. Kuan Yin understands. She says, see your reflection in the other. Break the chain of fears. Reach for the threads of desires, for you are forever one. Forever one. Peering up through the waves, conch maiden, gazing down into swirling depths, jade hero. Desires stir the onshore breeze, bamboo grove groans. Kuan Yin hears and enwraps the whole world in her kimono, woven, merciful, and soft. Full moon, pale yellow, reflecting solar mind in lunar heart. Enfolded in her purple silk kimono, our goddess murmurs, understand, understand. Thank you.
Anarchapulco, it's so hype, I'm trying to tell ya. This the event of the year and best vacation ever. Ron Potter, Jeffrey Tucker, just to name a few. Get your tickets, you don't wanna miss it. You should roll through, talking politics to health and self-improvement to invest in. So many things, not one thing. Learn how to live life unchained, yeah. 4 days vibing on the beach, time to connect. All about growth, way more than a conference. This is Anarchapulco, yeah. Let's go.
You ain't seen nothing yet.